Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. Today we are looking at issue 26 of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest magazine, with this horrible bit of dribbly nastiness dribbling all over the number 6. For anybody who doesn't know, Warhammer 40,000 Conquest magazine is a Partworks magazine from Hachette Publishing in association with Games Workshop. Each week you pay $7.99, you get a magazine and you get some Games Workshop products on the cover of that magazine. I get 4 issues a month because I subscribe, so I get them all in one bundle, and this is the last issue from my current bundle. We've previously had a Dreadnought with this set of 4 issues, so this issue, how are we following that up? What excitement are we getting? We're getting paint. Let's put the magazine to one side for a moment and let's talk about this. This is... it's a disappointing issue in some regards. First of all, you're getting 2 pots of paint. You're getting one shade, you're getting Reikland Fleshshade, which is a super useful shade for flesh tones, for shading fleshy bits. And obviously if you're painting Death Guard, you've got a lot of horrible, gribbly, fleshy bits to paint. So any tentacles and horrible fleshy bits on your Mephitic Blight drone and your Blight Hauler and all that sort of stuff, you're going to get a lot of use out of Reikland Fleshshade. You're also going to get some use out of it for Space Marine faces and things like that. So that's really useful. The second paint they have given you is Abaddon Black. Now, they gave Abaddon Black with issue 1, and I understand what they're doing here. They're resupplying you. They're working on the basis that if you've been base coating all of your miniatures with Abaddon Black, you're probably running low by this point, by the time you get to issue 26, so they've given you some more. But I get what they're doing, but at the same time, it kind of feels like by the time you've got to issue 26, if you're painting your miniatures and you're running low on a paint, you can pop down your shop and buy another Abaddon Black or something. I would rather have seen them introduce a new colour with new painting guides on how to use that colour. I mean, we can assume that the magazine is going to tell us how to use Reikland Fleshshade in order to shade all of our fleshy components on our miniatures, but they're not going to be telling us to do anything different with Abaddon Black that they haven't been telling us to do in every magazine so far. So yeah, it feels like it's a little bit of a wasted opportunity just to give you a pot of paint that you've already had before. I would much rather have seen a different, like I say, I get why they're doing it, but and it's nice to make sure that people don't run out of stuff, but I would feel like people, if they're running out of black, would be able to go and get another pot of black paint from a hobby shop or something, and it would have been, I think, better to have included a new paint with some new guides on where and how to apply that paint. So that's one thing that's slightly disappointing. The second thing that's slightly disappointing is that when you combine the value of these 2 products, they come to £7.50. And obviously, an issue of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest magazine is $7.99. So you're down 49p against the retail price of these paints. Now, there's a couple of ways of looking at that. I mean, well, on one hand, you could look at the fact that if you bought these paints online, you might be getting 15-20% discount, so therefore this is even worse value. On the other hand of looking at it is, if you bought these online, you'd have to pay postage, which would put the price back up, and if you bought these 2 paints online, you wouldn't get this magazine, which includes the instructions for using those paints and other stuff as well, mission tutorials and things like that. So it's kind of being weighed up, and so down 49p, it's not great. It's obviously much better to see issues like the Dreadnought issues, where over the course of 2 issues you are saving over £9. But it's not the worst thing in the world. But we're going to get these from time to time where the value is down, but that's because on other issues the value is so good. Like I say, over 2 issues, saving over £9 on the Dreadnought. So it's kind of reasonable to expect that you're not going to get that kind of saving with every particular issue, but it's still not great to actually look at the value of the magazine contents, the cover contents, and say, well, I could have got that cheaper online. That's not really, I think, the message this magazine wants to give out. But like I say, the magazine itself has value, which is worth something. The third thing that I'm not very happy about this is that, as last time, my 4 issues came in a plastic bag. They used to come in boxes, and nicely packaged in boxes to protect them. This came in a plastic bag, and at some point in transit, something heavy had bashed the side of this pot, and the top of the pot, where it's sealed here, had lifted almost off. It hadn't leaked, but it was literally on the verge of the whole top popping off. And if that had happened, I would have had a bag of paint delivered through my door with Reikland Fleshshade all over the magazine and all over my clothes when I opened the packaging. So if anybody from Hachette Publishing is watching this video, which I'm absolutely sure you're not, but stop sending pots of paints in just bags in the post. It's stupid. Anyway, that's enough about that. Reikland Fleshshade, useful. Abaddon Black is useful, but you know, I would have rather have seen something different. Overall, the value not great, but not the worst in the world, and acceptable considering the value you get over the subscription period in total. The magazine itself, what do we got? It's going to be predominantly about painting, isn't it? Because obviously they're giving us paints, so there's not going to be any building guides in this particular issue, no new miniatures to build. Stuff about the Age of the Imperium and the Eye of Terror. More fluff. Some cool stuff. Is Abaddon, who is he's back. He's back in town. New miniature. Great Unclean Ones. They're cool. Don't expect to be getting one of those on the cover of your Conquest magazine anytime soon. Greater Demons, Death Guard Possessed. Happy looking chappies. Riddle them with juicy poxes, says the Pox Lord. Yes. Oh, look, it's Papa Smurf. It's Papa Smurf. He's Primarch of the Ultramarines and Lord Commander of the Imperium. His service record includes the Great Crusade, the Horus Heresy, the Scouring, and the Indomitus Crusade, and his specialisms are Tactical Mastermind and Expert Politician. It's very easy, I fear, to be an expert politician when you have a massive sword that catches on fire. As you imagine, people tend to listen to you and do what you ask. What else we've got? Yeah, stuff about old Papa Smurf's return. I don't know why I'm calling Papa Smurf like it's a derogatory thing. I'm an Ultramarines player. So then we got some Blood Angels. And yeah, that's a bit about Commander Dante. And then we've got, Reikland Fleshshade. So they're going to show us how to introduce Reikland Fleshshade to all of the miniatures that you've been painting up to this point, because obviously what this magazine is doing is each time it introduces a new paint, it kind of goes back across all the things that you've painted previously and says, well, now add this new paint to it. So they're showing it going on the Ultramarines' faces and things, and adding it to all of the gribbly nastiness on the Poxwalkers and the Plague Marines, and yeah, on the Blight Hauler and on the Tainted Cohort and everything else. Yeah, just slapping a bit of flesh shade on those fleshy parts. Just to they've previously been painted with Bugman's Glow, so they were quite bright and pinky, and this is just gonna knock those colours down and just make it look a little bit fleshier and a bit more unpleasant. And then we've got a mission, Finding Felthius. It's a recon assault featuring units of Reavers against Plague Marines and Poxwalkers. Interesting that still a lot of these missions are very low key. They're very small numbers of miniatures. They're not just throwing everything you've got so far onto the table and saying fight. They're coming up with new and different missions, which is quite cool. It's nice to be getting all these different mission ideas, because not only is it something to play through for people who are new and are looking for new ways to challenge their forces, it shows the options that are available when you're playing the game. It shows the options that are available when you want to create your own missions and your own narrative campaigns and things like that. So it's really interesting just to show all these different ways to set up a battlefield and deploy your miniatures and have these little miniature campaigns where things from one mission roll over to the next. And then we've got a decapitation strike with a small death card force being ploughed into by a whole bunch of Ultramarines. And that is it. That is the end of the magazine, and the preview of future issues is basically, over our next 2 issues, we are going to get the components to build a Death Guard Rhino. That's very cool. I don't actually have a Rhino miniature, so I'm looking forward to receiving that. And because I get my issues in batches of 4, I will get both of those issues at the same time, so I'll be able to crack on straight away with it, as opposed to people who get this magazine weekly, who will have to wait a week between getting this issue and then this issue. But that is it for now. I would say not the most exciting issue, not the best issue in terms of value or in terms of the components on the front. But still, it's got some interesting stuff. It's got some cool little missions in there, and it's taking your painting to the next stage in terms of using the Fleshshade. So all of your miniatures are going to get a little bit more enhanced, a little more depth, and they're just going to look a little bit better than they did before you got this magazine. So that's all good. As always, prices will be going up here. It's prices of the magazine as subscribing to the magazine versus the price of purchasing all of the products from the front of the magazine at retail. So obviously those prices, you may be able to get them slightly less than that with online discounts, but they don't take into account the fact that you're also getting a magazine which has a value associated with it as well. But for reference, that is what those figures are. And that is it from me, and that is it for this latest batch of Warhammer 40,000 Conquest magazine. As always, please do leave comments, queries, suggestions, anything in the comments, and I will do my best to get back to you if I can. Bye bye everybody. Bye bye.